Can everybody see the screen okay out back there?
Yeah.
So better.
Can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Here we go. There's 6.5 billion plus people on the planet today. And by 2040, they're predicting that number is going to go to about 9 billion. So that's a lot of mouths to feed. That's a lot of cars on the road. We got to think about what's happening to our planet, and that it's really, we have a finite amount of resources here, and we keep pushing the envelope. So think about those things in the course of your life and what you can do to help make a difference. My objective here is to empower you with the knowledge that the little things that you do collectively can make a big difference in shaping the future of this planet. I'm going to talk a little bit about ice and glaciers and the snowcap at both ends of the Earth that is melting really quick. 2007, there was less sea ice than we have ever recorded up in the Arctic. 2008, there was a little bit more there. In 2009, there was a little bit more, but that doesn't mean that it's coming back. It's actually shrinking, and the thickness of that ice was less. So actually, if there was more cover, there was less density of that ice. There's a really important thing about that, and that is that the snow and the ice reflect the solar radiation. Once that ice starts to melt, we've got oceans there, and the oceans suck that heat up. And as the oceans absorb all that heat, it affects the entire planet. This is Greenland. The glaciers there are moving 3 times faster now than they were just 10 years ago. These are the warmest years ever recorded on Earth. 2005. This is the difference from the norm that they have said. This is NASA or NOAA's information. I mean, we're in trouble, and we need to do something about it. So what I'm trying to do today is to help empower you with the knowledge that you can make a difference. Most of our oxygen comes from the ocean. More than 50% of the oxygen that's in our atmosphere comes from the oceans. This is really important. Phytoplankton are what create most of that oxygen. Phytoplankton are tiny organisms that live in the sea. They conduct photosynthesis. They're responsible for sequestering more carbon than anything else on the planet. That's the area where most of your oxygen comes from. The way things are going right now, we're in a lot of trouble. So business as usual, that model doesn't work. According to that model, our fisheries are going to be depleted by 2048. Right now, there's enough technology and equipment out there to catch every fish in all of the oceans right now. So we're overfishing our fisheries. They're on the brink of disaster. If you get a chance, go see the movie End of the Line, a great movie about the overfishing of our oceans. Rainforests produce so much moisture. There's more diversity of land creatures than anywhere else on the Earth that are cutting and burning the rainforest. Here's the CO2 levels in our atmosphere, and then we get the Industrial Revolution kicking in post-World War II, and here's the CO2 levels rising. How many people came here today in a car that gets less than 20 miles to the gallon? Come on, raise your hands. All right, so there's a lot of work that everybody can do. Methane stays in the atmosphere for only about 12 years. So all the livestock that we're raising all over the world is belching and farting, and it's making a lot of methane gas. In the United States, the biggest release of methane gas comes from our landfills, because we're not smart like a lot of the other countries, I guess. We just throw everything in there like it's just going to go away, but we're going to run out of space at some point. And the organics that we throw in the landfill make methane. Every time a banana peel goes in the garbage can and winds up in the landfill, it's creating methane gas, which is causing climate change. So those little things you can do, find a good place to toss your banana peel in the woods, make a compost pile. There's lots of ways that you can divert organics from the landfill. It's the easiest thing you can do to make the biggest difference. For about 18 months in the year 2000, after getting permission from EPD to divert food waste, I picked up 35 stores around town in Athens. I picked up almost all the restaurants downtown and 5 supermarkets. We would take in about 3,000, 3,500 pounds of organic waste a day. Just this past year, I took the food waste from Whole Foods supermarkets. They have 6 stores in Atlanta. If you've got all these Publix and Kroger's and Walmart's, all these places that produce all of this organic waste, it's all going in the landfill. This is 6 stores, and that's 25 tons a week. So think about how much stuff we're throwing in the landfill every day, and what the effect of that is on our planet. Here's one of the tubs I use downtown. I put it in the restaurants, grocery stores. They fill these tubs with their organic waste. We go around and pick them up. This pile operates at ambient temperatures. It doesn't work based upon heat. It'll hold heat inside, but the microbes in there, the pile's not big enough for them to generate the heat that we call thermophilic. Here's some of the macroorganisms. These guys do most of the work. I can take a half a cantaloupe and stick it on top of that pile, and in 3 days it's gone, and maybe just the skin is left. They will totally just eat the whole thing, and it will become soil again. And that's the way it's supposed to be. All right, so the little things that you do by composting really make a big difference in the world, because you're not putting those organics in the landfill, making methane. And the other thing is that you are actually creating compost, which replaces the soil that we no longer have, for the most part in Georgia. That organic layer helps water infiltrate into the soil. Instead of running off, you walk across the bridge here during a good rainstorm, I bet you that creek out there is running pretty orange. It's carrying sediment from everywhere else on the property down into the pond, which is eventually going to fill up with sediment and is going to have to be dug out over time. These are some veggies from my garden. Don't forget where your food comes from. Try to eat as local as you can. If your food is shipped from Mexico or California, think about the carbon footprint of that tomato. And you as a consumer make a difference by making that choice to purchase that product that came from China, as opposed to maybe something that costs a little bit more that's made closer at home. So these are things that you can do as a consumer that will make a difference. Grow your own food if you can. Buy it from someone who grows it locally. That keeps the money here, and it keeps the greenhouse footprint down, and it's better for you. What happens in the piles is it breaks down those organics, it releases CO2, and it releases water vapor. Those are most of the gases that come out of there, because the bacteria take the molecules that make up any odors or what the organics are made out of, and they break those molecules down because they utilize them. Bacteria and fungi. These are really important little organisms, probably the most important organisms on the entire planet. Without them, we would not be here. They were probably where we came from originally. And when everything's gone, they'll probably still be around, and if they're not, they'll probably be the first thing to kick back up and start life over again. I compost animal mortality. That deer is going to turn into soil. The next day, it was 160 degrees at the top of the pile. So now the tree eats the deer. Plant some trees. Got some kids out there. I donate some compost. We're using it to help that tree have a better chance of surviving. This is kind of an important slide. The tree will absorb CO2, as you know, through the leaves and give off oxygen. It also can create food. Gas is exchanged through the soil. Putting that organic layer down there allows the water to infiltrate. It allows the gases to move up and down. It makes the tree grow faster and better, sequester carbon, and give us oxygen. I use a clothesline and I use a drying rack. In the wintertime when I got the heat on and the house gets dry, put up a drying rack. But sometimes they're hard to find now. And if you can find one that's not made in China, power to you. See that electronic stuff? And turn it off. You're using electricity. Somewhere out there, they're ripping open the side of a mountain, excavating coal, trucking it down to our plant and burning it, putting mercury and CO2 and all kinds of things in our atmosphere every time you push the button, every time you turn on the light switch. So this puts the moisture back into the room naturally, and it helps cut down on your electric bill and helps keep CO2 out of the atmosphere. And if everybody did that in the United States, our footprint would go down really fast. It would make a huge difference. We're just wasting energy that we really don't have. And in the process, we're killing our planet. So the solutions are out there. The key is education. And I hope today I planted some seeds of change for you all. So take that knowledge and see what you can do with it. Talk to your parents, turn off the lights when you're not using them, and try to make a compost pile and see what you can do. Thank you so much.